Welcome guys to the 41st millennium and the Imperium of Man. With me the 40k Empress. Today we are peeling back the layers of myth and propaganda, pushing aside the sanitized version of history and diving headfirst into one of the most critical, most brutal, and most misunderstood periods in all of human history. The Unification Wars, or as I like to call it, why the Emperor's conquest of Earth wasn't just a scroll in the park with some loyal legions, but a galactic scale beatdown that forged the Imperium into unimaginable fire. When most people think of the Emperor conquering Terra, they picture some divine procession, legions of golden armored super soldiers marching through adoring crowds, maybe a few minor skirmishes? Wrong. Oh, so wrong. This wasn't some benevolent unification. This was a grind, a millennia-long, blood-soaked, utterly relentless grind that swallowed entire civilizations, shattered ancient legacies, and saw humanity tear itself apart before being forcibly snitched back together by the iron will of one being. This was the birth of the Imperium, and it was a C-section with a chain axe. Let's set a scene now, shall we? Imagine Earth after the Age of Strife, the warp, a howling maelstrom, psychers manifesting like wildfire, tearing holes in reality. Demons, well, they were having a field day. Navigators were dying out. Warp travel was a death sentence. Humanity, once masters of the stars, was now cut off, isolated, reduced to squabbling, xenophobic pockets of survival. And these pockets weren't just simple tribes. Oh no, these were Technobarbarian warlords. They were the remnants of advanced civilizations, twisted by desperation, paranoia, and the grim necessity of survival. You can think of them as feudal lords, but instead of castles and knights, they had rediscovered Dark Age weaponry, each one of them convinced they were the next big thing, the rightful heir to whatever pathetic sliver of power they clung to. They were vicious, utterly ruthless, enslaving, torturing, or exterminating anyone who stood in their way. Sound maybe familiar a bit? Because that's the kind of environment the Emperor emerged from. He didn't just show up and start preaching. He was another player in this cosmic game of thrones, albeit one with an ace up his sleeve, or rather a fleet of them, and an army of them, and a literal god of war within him. Let's talk specifics. Let's talk about the enemies the Emperor faced. These weren't pushovers. Take the Ursh, not just a few guys with clubs. No, the Ursh were a massive unified confederacy spanning across what was once Russia and parts of Asia. They had developed their own twisted culture, their own forms of worship, their own brutal hierarchy. They were a power block, a major threat, and their defeat was not a single battle, but a protracted campaign of attrition. They resisted with everything they had, throwing waves of fanatical warriors and repurposed war machines against the imperial forces. It was a war of annihilation, where no quarter was given and none was expected. The Emperor didn't just walk through their gates, he had to, break them. Then you have the Nordafric conclaves. These weren't just desert riders, they were a sophisticated network of fortified city-states, each one a bastion of ancient technologies and unique combat doctrines. They were masters of siege warfare, and urban combat, turning every ally, every crumbling structure into a killing zone. Imagine fighting house to house, block to block, against enemies who knew every inch of their territory, who had generations of experience defending it, and who would rather die than surrender. The Nordaffrics presented a different kind of challenge, one that required grinding, methodical conquest, where every meter advanced was paid for in blood. And let's not forget the Albion, the island of Great Britain, or what was left of it. Isolated by warp storms, these were some of the most xenophobic and technologically advanced factions. They had maintained a semblance of their past knowledge, and they used it to devastating effect. Their defenses were legendary, their warriors fierce, and their resistance fanatical. Breaking the Albion required massive naval engagements, aerial supremacy, and brutal ground assaults against deeply entrenched positions. It was a monumental task, a testament to the Emperor's strategic genius and the sheer might of his gigantic forces. But it wasn't just these large named empires. Oh no! Think of the Terwat clans. These were the Technobarbarians of the Himalayas and the surrounding regions, masters of high-altitude warfare, utilizing ancient power conduits and forgotten energy weapons. They were fragmented but numerous, and each clan was a well-oiled killing machine, defending their isolated mountain strongholds with a ferocity born of centuries of independence. The Emperor had to fight them in treacherous terrain, where environmental hazards were as deadly as the enemy. It was a different kind of war, and brutal mountain fighting, where every foothold was contested. And the Pan-Pacific empires, the shattered remnant of what was once the Pacific Rim, now a chaotic mess of island fortresses, pirate fleets, and bioengineered horrors. The Emperor had to project power across vast oceans, engaging in massive naval battles, the likes of which humanity had never seen. He had to conquer fortified islands, battle genetic abominations, and contend with rogue AI constructs that had become worshipped as gods. This was truly diverse and challenging theater of war, demanding adaptability and an almost limitless supply of resources. Now you might be thinking, but the Emperor had the Thunder Warriors, right? Those superhuman beasts? Yes, he did, and let me tell you, the Thunder Warriors were not just for show. They were the Emperor's blunt instrument, his shock troops, genetically engineered for one purpose: to break the unbreakable. They were stronger, faster, tougher, and more aggressive than any human warrior before or since. They were a living, breathing testament to the Emperor's willingness to create weapons, even sentient ones, that would achieve his goals no matter the cost. But even the Thunder Warriors took casualties, massive casualties. They were thrown into meat grinders of a scale we can barely comprehend. Imagine wave after wave of fanatical techno-barbarians armed with everything from sharpened scraps of metal to still functional plasma weapons, throwing themselves against these superhuman giants. The Thunder Warriors earned every inch of ground they gained, paid for in their own blood, their own broken bodies. They weren't invulnerable, they were simply more resilient, more deadly than anything else on Terra, and they were used ruthlessly and efficiently until their purpose was served. Long story short, he killed them. And it wasn't just overt warfare. This was total war. Think about the psychological toll, the constant fear, the desperate gambits, the sheer willpower it took to unify a planet that had descended into such chaos. The Emperor wasn't just fighting armies, he was ripping humanity out of a self-dug grave. And let me tell ya, not everyone appreciated the effort. Imagine warlords who had ruled their lands for generations, suddenly forced with an unstoppable force demanding their surrender. Their response wasn't usually,
"Oh, thank goodness the Emperor's here."
it was,
"Over my dead body and the dead bodies of everyone I command."
this meant not just open battlefields but covert operations, sabotage, infiltration, propaganda. The Emperor was a master strategist, yes, but he was also a master manipulator. He understood the hearts and minds of humanity, their weaknesses, their fears, and their desperate longing for order. He exploited these ruthlessly, turning faction against faction, sowing discord where it suited his purposes. It was a grand game of chess, played with the lives of billions, and the Emperor was always several moves ahead. Think of the sheer logistics of conquering an entire planet, city by city, bunker by bunker, until every last holdout was purged. It required not just military might, but an iron will, a vision so absolute that it could not be deteriorated by any setback, any loss. Factories running constantly, churning out weapons, armor, vehicles, supply lines stretching across devastated continents, recruitment drivers bringing in fresh meat for the grinder. It was an industrial effort on a scale that dwarfed any pre-strife war. The planet was a gigantic forge, constantly recharging itself, not just military, but ecologically. The land itself was scarred, churned by endless conflict. And what about the Imperial Palace? Do you know what's built on? Not just any ground. It's built on the ashes of countless conquered strongholds, on the shattered dreams of 1,000 petty tyrants. Every towering wall, every fortified gate, every underground bunker, it's a monument to the cost of unification. It's a physical manifestation of the Emperor's triumph, yes, but also a stark reminder of the immense sacrifice and bloodshed that went into its creation. It wasn't built in a day, it was built over centuries with the bones of his enemies as its foundation. This wasn't a quick sprint, it was a marathon of blood and iron. It was the crucible in which the Imperium was truly forged, where the Emperor's ruthlessness and his ultimate goal truly became clear. He wasn't building a gentle utopia, he was building a war machine, a weapon designed to conquer the galaxy and protect humanity from the horrors that lurked within it. He forged humanity into a single cohesive, albeit brutal, force. Remember the struggle, remember the nameless billions who died, the civilizations that were erased, the countless acts of barbarity committed by both sides. Remember that the Emperor's conquest of Earth wasn't easy. It was an epic, brutal, and utterly necessary war that laid the foundation of everything that came after. It was the birth of the Imperium, screaming into existence amidst the ruins of a shattered world, and understanding that brutal truth, that foundation of blood and conquest, is key to understanding the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Stay vigilant, watch this next, and remember, the Emperor protects.